Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. We are excited today, aren't we, Scott?
Heck yeah, topic that is being discussed is something everyone talks about.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to want to travel down this Magical Psyche Highway. So tonight we have the great Samantha Kindheart. Samantha, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
That was awesome introduction. I'm fantastic. I'm around two amazing people. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be here.
Well, we're grateful to have you. I mean, Samantha is wonderful, the co-founder of the Language of Orgasm. Man, Samantha,
Yeah.
straight up, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so who am I? I'm a person who who am I? So I'm a person who enjoys doing things differently than maybe the rest. I enjoy challenging myself. I enjoy hypnosis. I'm a person who yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I turn my sixes into nines.
Nice. So what's that all about? Turning the sixes into nines.
Well, it's a song,
Mhm.
and I've been having a theme with some of my marketing that is definitely going to get better. With songs, right? I like songs. I love songs. I taught yoga. I trained yoga teachers to be yoga teachers. And it's 60 minutes of music for a lot of the classes. So I would create a sequence of songs, and the songs would also be a cue for me to do a certain part of the class to keep me on point, because sometimes I could go off onto doing something for like 20 minutes when we're only supposed to do it for 5. So the music helped me also sequence my class. So I'm adding the music, thanks to TikTok, to the marketing, and having it kind of be encompassed in the theme of the marketing for the Language of Orgasm, which is so much fun because there's so much romantic music out there that has a lot of like great ideas and kinkiness and playfulness to it. So yeah, that's turning the sixes into nines.
Nice. So let me ask you, so you find music healing then?
I find it to be a lot of things. Yeah, it can set a mood. I I like it, and I can also leave it, right? I think there's also a lot of power in being in our own silence and stillness and sitting with our own thoughts. So it's an option. It can also, energize me, right? Like get me into a zone. It can also maybe demotivating, right? Like so music has a lot of spectrums for me. I'm selective of my music.
Nice. So we're down your highway, and where's your selective of your music? So let's ask this: Are you a classical? Are you a country gal? Are you kind of a rocker? Or are you hip hop? I mean, what's your lane, Samantha?
Yeah.
Give us that.
Thanks for asking. So I really like all music. The words that are being said is important to me, and I like the beat. So I like country, I like, jazz, I like classical, I like opera, I like EDM, I like heavy metal, I like some rap. But my favorite is EDM.
Is there something that just puts you in the bad space? It's like, I don't need this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that some music portrays stories that I would prefer to do without in my thinking. Like I didn't even know that they existed, kind of stories, and now I now I know something new. So that can be something that I'll skip.
Nice, nice. Well, definitely music has a play on things, and you do the language of orgasm, so I'm sure there's definitely something there with the crossover between music and getting in the mood.
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely can be a lot of people who enjoy music to get into the mood. It can be powerful for a lot of people to connect to that part of themselves, right? To get into that space, especially if we are living our daily life, right? And if we have a 9 to 5, say, job or any kind of job, right? We we may need some support in our environment to feel romantic or get into sharing our body with someone or experiencing an orgasm with ourselves, right? It can be, like the tone, the pace of the words, the beat, right? And that can be very inviting for a lot of people to feel safe and get into that space easily without effort. You just play that song and you're like, oh, he's talking to me.
That's funny. Incidentally, just off the track here for a second, when my wife calls and she gets my answering machine, I play for her only. I play Marvin Gaye, "Let's Get It On," and I get a kick out of it, but it embarrasses her when she's with her friends.
Oh, that's so, oh my gosh. Wow. That is so thoughtful and like oh my gosh, that is great. I love it. Right? And I mean, it can bring a smile to our face, and it's just as simple as some music, and like a reminder, and it can be, like even hearing a song can remind us of someone that we really like or who we don't like, right? It's like, maybe you want to skip that song because there's some memories there or something like that that it's too much at that time. But yeah, so that's exactly the point, the Marvin Gaye song with your voicemail for your wife.
So let me ask you a question here now. So this is we're on your highway. Let's go back to you. So on this one, so when did you come to this point where you were like, man, you know what? I'm gonna be the girl that talks about orgasms and the language of orgasm. How did that
Yeah.
come about?
Thank you. Thank you. I really uh I wanted to receive that question so badly because I want to share because it's been something that I've also needed to step into as well to embody being this. Like I had stories and fear around bringing this also forward to the world, presenting it. You know, like, what are people going to think of me? How am I going to show up? What's going to happen? You know, what kind, like, you know, just all these scenarios in my mind, which is great because I've like gone through all of that in my mind already. And so I'm ready. So I wanted to do it with another person, right? I've been to some educational classes about sex, and it's most of them are presented with two people. Some are not. So like I just want to be clear. I've been to ones where it's two people, and I wanted to co-create this with someone else who also wants to bring this forward, because it is a topic that can receive a lot of shame. Just speaking it can create facial gestures of, you know, me recognizing that they're disgusted by the fact that, or they feel shame, right? Like, I've had conversations where I say that I'm presenting the language of orgasm. It's learning sex skills and, you know, like pelvic floor exercises and dirty talk. And then all of a sudden the person wants to, you know, leave the conversation. So I'm pretty conscious of these like body movements, even if we aren't saying anything. So that has been something that I have had to also overcome to bring this forward. So my point is, I needed to overcome fear myself, and I wanted to also lean on the support of bringing this forward with another person who also felt like this is something to help other people to experience more pleasure in their life. And the first time that I wanted to, or that I was going to start the course, I was doing it with an ex of mine. He actually gave me most of the course to present. I need to credit him. We just had a lot of like stuff where I didn't feel comfortable working with him on in a business partnership. So that was a no. So it didn't take off with him. I still kept the concept, the business concept with me though. It's been with me in my heart for almost 6 years. Then I had another relationship, and he learned so much from me being in my life, us being intimate together. He transformed himself sexually, right? By being my partner. And he loved this idea, because he transformed himself, right? So he just loved this idea. And why isn't everybody, you know, this is great, right? And I didn't want to do a business partnership with him. So that was round 2. And then I met Barbara. When I was in round 2, I made a post on Facebook that I was going to be presenting this, and Barbara saw my post. It was just my image of my picture with my ex. And we set it up where we were like in front of these bars. It was just like a gate to enter a security building area. It's like NIH. So we took a picture where I was on his shoulders and in front of this gate. So bars, it kind of looked like a jail. And it was like breaking free, right? Breaking free of limitations. And I was on his shoulders. So it was the idea of breaking free of limitations, right? And setting yourself free of these conditions around sex that may not even be yours, right? They were like something that you either picked up or someone told you and you just adopted. So I had that post and Barbara saw it and she loved it. And she was like, yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. And so she reached out to me about it. And I love Barbara, and we just really connected in a very natural way. Like I loved who she was, or who she is, like of how she talks. Just like no filter, and it's great. I love that so much. And she experienced the program. I walked her through it, you know, and she's having amazing sex now with her partner. So like I am doing this because I love the idea, the concept of how to like transform thinking, because I personally had so many blocks around sex. And I have a partner who also believes that this is amazing, and I feel really comfortable and safe working with Barbara. So I have been leaning into this now so much, of embodying this sex and teaching sex, and it actually feels really good. So that is the journey of it bringing forward. I kind of forgot your like original question, but that's how it evolved, right? And it was really organic, but I never left it, right? Like I cleaned out my files in my house. I moved and everything, but I kept the orgasm concept that I remember creating with my ex in the kitchen. Like in my previous house, in my kitchen, and we wrote everything down, we got everything mapped out, super clear. So now it's evolved into something like even better, right? Because we're offering the hypnosis, the NLP, and I'm able to actually really support the women in the transformation in an emotional way. Like I feel comfortable and capable of doing that now myself. So I think it really was just timing and all those pieces working out, but me just keeping it in my heart has been the key point, if that makes sense, keeping my dream.
Yes. And so in order to do this, and it sounds to me like what this came about is you yourself had to navigate through this shame, guilt, and possibly even some trauma behind sex.
Absolutely. So my ex, I bless his heart. You know, he taught me so much about sex. I had so many obstacles of like, I had a lot of like these rules, like I shouldn't be too wild in the bedroom if I love him so much, right? I should be this pristine, perfect girlfriend or partner or, you know, fiance or wife or whatever. I should be this, you know, he shouldn't look at me or as wild. Like I can't bring that out, right, in the bedroom. So I had that running, right? So I was just kind of like I wouldn't say what I thought, or I wouldn't ask questions. I just would receive orders or receive instructions and just do as I was told. So there was that going on. So it was really boring sex for him, right? you know, because it was just like, it's like, are you, you know, it was, am I with a person or a log, right? Like, are you alive? I'm- So I was like, wow, huh? Oh yeah, the boring. Oh, okay. I didn't even know that that was like what he was really wanting, or because I had this rule, these instructions in my head of you know, wanting to receive like love, so I needed to show up in this certain way, right? Wherever that story came from. Then I had this disgust. So it really started with my disgust for spitting. And I was like, this is gross, right? I was like, this is ugh, right? And he was like, this is something I love, right? This turns me on. This connects me to you, right? Like this is fantastic. Like I love that. This is like us getting in deep intimacy of sharing our bodies together, and this is wonderful. But I had this disgust emotion of like, ooh, it's slimy, it's my spit, we can't share this. And so I had that also running in the background of like the spit. So that was really the way that he worked himself in to working through a lot of my sexual blocks, because I had basically 90 no's out of 100, right? I was, you know, uh, but he worked with me, like we worked together, right, as a team, you know, me sharing what I liked, what worked for me, what, you know, me expressing my vulnerabilities, and him teaching me all of this stuff from Mama Gina that he learned as a teacher at her school. So he taught me everything, how to, you know, how to use touch to stimulate, to tease, right? To build the momentum in the bedroom, right? It's not just, you know, like in and out. Well, that's available too, but how to really ramp it up, right? And how to also show up so that we are creating this space that can grow with the partner. So, like, so I was giving him shame faces of like, ooh, you know, and so he had to block that out and overcome that, right? To not feel like he's taking on my shame, right? But that's how it can start, right? It's just as simple as like a face gesture like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're with you. But now you're talking about, you said Mama Gina and you talked about your ex and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
who are your mentors?
Yeah. Just to and to he taught me then dirty talk, right? Which I had a lot of like, ooh, this is like really out of my comfort zone, right? But after learning dirty talk and really like getting into it, it was so fun and kinky and stimulating. I was like, wow, this is powerful, right? Of just a few words and I can just make this happen. Wow, it was just like that really transformed me into like, wow, sex is incredible. Like there's no limits. It's just so stimulating and intoxicating, because adding the dirty talk is like a whole new experience. So my mentors was my ex. He lived in New York City, and he also has that personality of doing things differently and enjoying it, right? Like going against the grain, maybe being a disruptor, right? So he, I think, had a girlfriend or a roommate or something like that. And that person was somehow connected to the school by Mama Gina, and they needed a man in the school, right? Like, you know, they needed a man, right? I'll leave it at that. I don't actually know all the details. I didn't really want to know, to be honest, because we were, yeah, that was, just something I just didn't want to know. So yeah, so he loved it though. It boosted his confidence. He had fun. It was just, he really enjoyed it. And it wasn't like it wasn't weird, right? You think like, oh, he's like, doing all this wild stuff or, like just like, but it can be done well, right? This is it. The thing is, it's just so taboo for some people. The topic is just, shh, like, let's not talk about it, right? But actually, no, like, it doesn't need to be complex. It can be simple. And, there's learnings and education. Like, why aren't we talking about this stuff? So he really loved it. He was the like perfect person for that role. And he taught me all of the steps. He, experienced all kinds of women of all different types of sexual scenarios, right? That of their obstacles, whether it was they've never had an orgasm before in their life, right? Coming to the school. Yeah. I saw your head, Scott. Yeah. So having that, like there are a lot of people that haven't been ever able to even have that. That happens, right? And there's just a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum with orgasm. There's a spectrum of learning about orgasm. And that can also change as well in our lives of what's happening in our life too, right? How much time do we have? Do we have a lot of responsibilities? So there's a lot of variables, and it's really looking at sex like that, right? As kind of in a scientific, kind of logical way versus this taboo way. And that's how I learned how to move through all of my limiting beliefs and stories around sex that I adopted from somewhere. I don't even know where, but they weren't helping me feel free to be me. Like there is no wrong way. There is no, I mean, of course, as long as, like I'm keeping people physically. Anyways, you get the point.
Yeah. Nice.
So I learned through him. He taught me everything. And I am so grateful and honored that I was able to receive all those learnings. And he took the time out to work with me through a lot of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Scott, you got a question for her?
Do have a couple questions.
Yes.
So a question about what are the typical clients you see? Or do you see clients that are male and female, or do you see just females?
Yeah. So Scott, what a great question. I am, so we're starting it with just females for right now, but we are creating a space to receive people who want to be on a wait list for upcoming programs for couples, for men, because I do connect with a lot of men who are communicating with me about the struggles that they have, you know, with their partner or with themselves. And so right now it's women. That's our focus, starting out with just women, and then we will grow. But we are creating a space for people to communicate with us who are interested in learning about the program when we do create the programs for couples and for men.
So let's change gears and go 10 years into the future now. You're looking back. What do you expect to see that you've accomplished? You just know for sure.
Wow. A lot more pleasure around me. A lot of people telling me about their orgasms. I mean, what? That's phenomenal, right? Like, being a part of that is what I want to read on in my texts or in my emails of people sharing how happy they are, right? How the program has transformed their life, like they're sleeping better, or they are having a relationship with their partner where their partner has been maybe absent for years, and now all of a sudden their partner is involved in their life, cooking with them where they never cooked with them before, or they're planning trips with them and they never planned trips before with them, or they're actually orgasming or having an orgasm with their partner.
That's awesome.
Nice.
What,
Nice. So big
I got
question.
one more question.
Go
One
for
more
it, Scott.
question. What's your epitaph going to read?
My what?
Your epitaph on your tombstone. What is it going to say?
Huh. Oh, wow. Uh, she did what she loved, and she was loved, and she is still loved.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Now
I love that. I
speaking
love
of
that
loving,
introspection.
go ahead, Scott.
I love that. I love that long introspection.
And speaking of loving you and all this, how do our viewers get a hold of you?
Yeah, so it's the language of orgasm.com, and the website is getting built. Like it's in progress. It's happening. But we have a great email. It's support at thelanguageoforgasm.com.
Nice.
But Barbara and I were both on Facebook as well, and we're setting up the group on Facebook. Where there's some logistics of like how to, like, there are just some decisions still to be made about some aspects, like the space of choosing that. Like, do we want it on Facebook, or do we want it in a different space? Things, it just, so some of those things are getting worked out, if that makes sense.
Sure it does.
Okay.
Scott, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think I'm good. Been great.
Samantha, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I do. I know that for myself, when I changed my relationship with sex and how I showed up in the bedroom, there was a shift in all parts of myself, in all areas of my life. I felt different. I spoke up for myself. There was just an internal confidence and grounding and knowing that I've got this inside. And working with people with sex and them experiencing what they want in their body of like an orgasm where they may have been blocked or they just had something going on, some thoughts, and then they are actually shifting and allowing themselves to have that pleasure and feel good is a game changer. Like it really is a delight for them. And I also receive their feeling as well. It makes me feel really good.
Nice, nice. So one more thing here we're gonna throw out here. It's been a pleasure going down your magical psyche highway. We certainly enjoyed it. We certainly have enjoyed our interview with you today. But I have the big question. We're not through yet. The big question is, what are your words of wisdom for our viewers?
Words of wisdom for our viewers. We're allowed to have our preferences. We're allowed to have our wants. We're allowed to have our needs. And we're allowed to feel good. So owning those is the wisdom, like really owning our, without shame, right? Like we're allowed to have these without feeling like we're too much, feeling like we're not enough or whatever. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay for another person to also have their own too, right? To receive their feedback. And that's good information. It's just learning more about them and you, right? Of what you also maybe want to. Like yeah, it's information. Like looking at sex as information. That's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
That's the wisdom. Looking at sex as information.
Nice. Nice. Scott, anything you want to add?
Thank you so much for coming out and spending time with us today. We really appreciate you.
No, thank you. I am so grateful. This has been fun. I love talking about this topic. I think I have so can I just say, Jason, your idea?
Go for it.
I loved your idea. So in 10 years, having those retreats would also be something. I think that I hadn't even thought 10 years out, but the concept that I can say it.
Yeah.
So Jason had a wonderful idea, which is divine, right? It's like, so it's like, sign me up, right? Like I do it. And that is an experience, a retreat for couples to either maybe get married for the first time or to renew their wedding vows, right? With that person that they love in a place on a weekend, and also have an experience where they learn how to show up better for their partner. They learn new sex skills, right? To enhance their bedroom romance, on both ends, and write love letters to each other, or love poems. Actually, I thought of that one. So either love letters, love poems, whatever, just write something and have a romantic experience and get married, either by Jason or myself, and float away on a gondola, in a gondola, with a light that moves with the current. Oh, yeah. So I think that would be magical. That would be something really awesome, because everything would be taken care of for the people, like their food, their accommodations. They would just need to show up, and they would be also learning something as well. So and they would be accomplishing either their marriage ceremony, they would be getting that done, or renewing their marriage ceremony. So there would be so many buckets that were achieved in that experience. I think it's brilliant.
You could have them cook a dinner one night together to show them how they communicate better.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And that's part of the language of orgasm. It's setting up a structure of how to communicate about sex in the bedroom so that we are heard and our partner is also heard, right? So that that growth can occur. So that's part of the language of orgasm. That's the basic beginning, is a lot about communication, of guidelines, of better guidelines around sex, to set up an environment that flourishes, where there is just orgasm after as many orgasms as the couple wants, or the person wants, right? So that is the beginning of the language of orgasm, is how do you facilitate these conversations? Are we having a conversation with our partner when they're multitasking, doing 500 things? That probably isn't the best idea, right? So we learn how to set up a conversation, how to approach sex as if it's like we're, buying a house, like looking at it like that, from that perspective of treating it also as its unique space, of having respect in the bedroom, of being able to give feedback in a way that is growth oriented, right? So it isn't like, so that the person actually wants to listen to what I'm saying. Does that make sense? So that's the beginning, bare bones of the language of orgasm. It is communicating about sex in a way that is going to most likely, I mean, it's not 100%, most likely move the couple or the person to their desired outcome, to set up that communication structure, to consider the other person, that they matter. They have a schedule, they have responsibilities. There are things that are going on in their life that we need to take into account. So it's taking, I think, sex more seriously, but by doing that, the results in the end are more pleasure, if that makes sense.
Sounds great. Yes. Yes, right on. So anything else, guys? Okay, well, it's been wonderful show. Samantha, it's been great having you on. We certainly appreciate it. We certainly appreciate you having there. And for our viewers, we're glad that you're here too. We're glad you're here. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you like us, give us a thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, just give us a thumbs down. We don't care. We're just glad you're here. Remember to share it. Remember to spread it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, and we hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.